I'm going to introduce our speaker. Tonight we have one of our notable men of Temecula, Bill Veale. He is a member of our board. He's been a member of the VARA, Veale Ranch Restoration Association board, for many years. Many of you know, or some of you may not know, that VARA and the Temecula Valley Historical Society merged in September. And so now we have him on our board. He's the father of 6. He started as a lineman for Edison, and now he does more office work. He's a native Californian. He and his wife have been part of the Old Town Temecula Gunfighters for almost 20 years. He's worked with the Boy Scouts for 25 years. And we are just so pleased that he would be willing to give this presentation on Jose Estudillo, one of the notable men of Temecula. So go ahead, Bill.
Good evening. I've been asked to talk about myself today, but I am just a humble, quiet fellow, so I will make this quite short. My name is Jose Estudillo. I live with my wife and family in the Pueblo of San Diego, in what is said to be the finest casa in the area. I was born at the Presidio, Monterey in 1803, and I have lived and worked in California under the flag of 3 different countries. I've held many administrative offices in Alta California and was able to help the local Luiseño tribes in their land dealings. I have worked with many influential people, including California governors, Pablo Apish, and that lovable rascal, Juan Bandini. I'm a grantee of many California ranchos, including Rancho Temecula. My father, Jose Marie Estudillo, was born in Andalusia, Spain. That's where it's located. In 1772, and he moved to New Spain at the age of 15 in 1787. It was in Baja near Loreto where my father met my mother, Maria. They were married when my father was 23 years old. Since my father did not have a steady job at the time, and my oldest sister, Maria Magdalena, was on the way, my grandfather told him that he should join the army. In 1796, my father enlisted in the Spanish Army in Loreto. My father's career was successful, so promotions came fast for him in the Spanish Army. Within a couple of years, my father was awarded lieutenant and moved to the Presidio of Monterey, where I was born. While in Monterey, he went on many expeditions to explore the interior of California. One mission was with Captain Jose Romero to explore as far as Soledad and Tulare. In 1820, our family moved from Monterey to San Diego. Because my father was promoted to Comandante of the Presidio there, because my father was promoted to Comandante, the Mexican War of Independence from Spain had been going for about 10 years by this time. Thankfully, there were no battles near us. This war ended with the signing of the Treaty at Cordova in August of 1821. My father swore allegiance to the Mexican government, so he kept his rank as Comandante. And this is at the Presidio, next to the mission, San Diego del Alcala. My father's continued service did not go unnoticed by Mexican Governor Echeandía. Our family was awarded a grant of 100 varas of land just outside the Presidio. Those of us who were born in early California of Spanish descent were called Californios. A Californio starts roping with a riata before he can ride, and was on a horse by age 4. The adult Californio is said to be grace on horseback. We would spend as long as 8 years training our horse. We started with a rope around their neck, then graduated to riding them. The horse did not like any of this, but we would keep at it until the horse wore himself out. Eventually, he would look forward to seeing his rider. We would teach our horse the signals such as a heel gently in the ribs, meant to go faster, and would learn the reins left and right. Next, we would work with them on herding, roping, and branding cattle. So much time was spent at this training that the horse would become an extension of the rider and would actually anticipate what the rider needed. I was constantly on my horse and became so good at training that I was made an amonsador or horse trainer. When we moved from Monterrey to San Diego, I started working at the Mission San Luis de Francia in this capacity. I would train the Mission Indians how to rope, ride, and brand with their horses so they could become the vaqueros that the mission needed to control the cattle on the many mission ranchos. There was a story about one of our Californios by the name of Raul. He always bragged that he was better than the rest of us. And it was said that a gather of cattle was needed from this one area. He said that he single-handedly brought back with him 15 beef, 12 sheep, 3 ducks, 5 geese, 2 bears, and a fox. I heard about this, but I didn't believe it. I never heard of a sheep wanting to herd with cattle. At the mission, I had the pleasure of working with Padre Peri and Padre Zalvidea and Pablo Apish. When we moved down to the Presidio San Diego, I was only 17 years old. By early 1820, I had enlisted in the Spanish Army and was assigned at the Presidio. At age 21, I thought I was a man of the world. The ladies would always wish to dance with me. However, soon after, my eye was caught by a wink from a beautiful señorita who was the daughter of Sergeant Dominguez. From this point on, I was hooked, but I had competition for her attentions. There was Raul again. At the Presidio Fandangos, I would try to get a dance with Maria Victoria, but Raul and the other young men would be waiting in the line. Let me get a picture here. This is a picture of, one picture of the Fandangos. Finally, I had my chance, and while dancing, I asked her if I could come courting. She was about to answer when Raul cut in for the next dance. Both Raul and I were courting her, but eventually I won out, and she spent all her time with me, walking in the moonlight, listening to the ocean, and talking the night away. With a chaperone, of course. She was a proper lady. I found out later that her mother, Senora Dominguez, had something to do with her picking me over Raul. After the proper engagement period, we got married. I was promoted to lieutenant in that same year. And my father said that my mother hooked him with a wink too. The Mexican government was starting to give land grants out to influential families and individuals. In contrast, under Spanish rule, all property belonged to El Rey, the King of Spain, and was managed by the missions. It was getting crowded with all the soldiers and their families in the Presidio. So when my father received the land grant, we started building a home for our family. At the age of 25, I was in charge of building our casa on one part of the parcel. My sister's husband, Juan Bandini, was building their house on the other part. Ours was an L-shaped structure at first, but as our family grew, we started adding on until it was U-shaped and had 13 rooms. This is a picture. Sadly, during this time, both my mother and father passed away. When we were building our house, my sister Maria Dolores and her husband Juan Bandini were building their house across the street, only theirs had to be bigger. Juan seemed to feel that they were in competition with us and tried to outdo us. After our house was built, we would have big parties. Juan would have a bigger party. By 1829, I received the Rancho Homal land grant. Governor Figueroa granted me Rancho Temecula in 1835. It was very large. It was bounded by the mission itself, Rancho Santo Jacinto, Temesco, and the mountains to include Rancho Laguna Grande. I did not receive full title from the legislature for Rancho Temecula. Instead, it went to Felix Valdez, a Mexican army officer. Rancho Santa Rosa was granted to Juan Moreno by Governor Pio Pico, and Vincent Moraga was granted Rancho Pava. Anyway, in the meantime, I was grazing my large herd of cattle on these ranchos, and I'm making a lot of money at this enterprise. In 1836, the Pueblo San Diego was in need of a chapel in addition to the mission. The original mission had been moved and ended up 6 miles away from our casa and the Presidio. We made this first chapel in our house and even provided the padre with his own room. In 1841, we also had the Pueblo San Diego's first courtroom in our house. From 1833 to 1835, I was a member of the Mexican Assembly in Los Angeles. From 1837 to 1838, I was Juez de la Paz at the Pueblo San Diego. In 1840, I was tax collector and assessor and mayordomo at the Mission San Luis Rey. My duties as mayordomo, among other things, was to oversee the treatment of the Luiseno Indians and the disbursement of mission lands for the Mission Secularization Proclamation of 1833. My predecessor, Pio Pico, was forced from office by the numerous protests from the Luiseno Indians regarding his scandalous conduct. It was reported that he was flogging and putting the Indians in jail for minor offenses. Anyway, I worked with the Padres to give the land, as much land as we could, to the Indians, to the Luiseno Indians. I had known Pablo Apich since I first came to San Diego in 1820. He was born at Rancho Guajome and was the first Luiseno baptized at the Mission San Luis Rey. We had worked together at the mission and are about the same age. I liked him. He was intelligent, literate, and respected. He even dressed like a Spaniard. He was so well liked that he became a spokesman or alcalde for the Luiseno Indians. Father Padre Zalvidea, get a picture. Padre Zalvidea tried to give Rancho Little Temecula to him in 1843. The Padre was trying to give parts of the Mission Rancho lands to the Luiseno Indians and various tribes and locations to keep the Californians from controlling all of the land. Pio Pico and Juan Bandini. Here's a picture of Juan. They were trying to get control of the lands even at the locations of the Indian villages. As my capacity as mayordomo at the Mission, I tried to help Pablo get full rights to the little Rancho Temecula by traveling with him to file on it in Los Angeles. But Pico seemed to go out of his way to delay or stop this paperwork because he wanted it for himself. Finally, Padre Ibarra convinced Pico that he should take Rancho Santa Margarita instead. But for the Padre's best intentions, Pablo still doesn't have full rights to the property. My older brother, Jose Joaquin, was born in 1800 and became the grantee of Rancho San Leandro. And he became the second alcalde at Yerba Buena, later known as San Francisco. My sister, Magdalena de Carmen, was grantee of Rancho Otay. Juan Bandini married my sister, Maria Dolores, in 1822. And let's talk about Juan a second. Juan was always up to some mischief. He and others wanted the new government, the new Mexican government, to quickly give all the former mission lands to the Californios. In 1831, he issued a proclamation denouncing his allegiance to then Governor Victoria. In 1834, with 14 other San Diegans, he arrested the staff at the Presidio San Diego. He pressured Governor Jose Figueroa until Figueroa finally issued a decree that the Padres could not manage the mission lands or the Indians. 1836 found Juan causing so much trouble for Governor Alvarado that Alvarado sent 26 men to San Diego to quell the opposition. Arriving near midnight at Juan's adobe, the governor's men almost caught Juan and me. Juan somehow implicated me in his political intrigues. Juan was a troublemaker, but we loved him. After the United States government took over, Juan had no time to make trouble. He spent all this time maintaining his vast tracts of land between Tijuana and the San Bernardino Mountains. Juan was always the life of the party with his excellent dancing, and often he was the master of ceremonies at the Presidio Fandangos. Juan has been credited with introducing the waltz to California. Starting in 1846, the Mexican-American War was fought in a few places in Alta California. The closest encounter to us was at San Pascual, where the U.S. Army under General Kearny fought against Andres Pico and his California Lancers. There's General Kearny. Here's Pio Pico's brother, Andres. Both sides said they had won the battle, but from my point of view, the Californians had them on the run. However, I stayed completely neutral. I could see that it was inevitable that the United States would win and that we would be better off with them as compared to the squabbling government in faraway Mexico City. Juan Bendini supported the United States. In 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, ending the war. Let's talk about our family. Our son, Jose Maria, married Luz Moron. Our son, Salvador, married P. Altamirano. Our son, Jose Guadalupe, married Adelaide Mulholland. Our son, Jose Antonio Jr., operates Rancho San Jacinto. Our son, Francisco, married Carmen Rubido, then married the daughter of Don Jesus Machado after Carmen died. Our daughters, Francisca and Maria del Rosario, both married Jose Aguirre. First Francisca, then Maria, after Francisca unfortunately died less than a year after the wedding. The Aguirre house is near our casa in Pueblo, San Diego. Our father, Maria Antonia, married Miguel de Pedrerina, and daughter Concepcion married George Pendleton. I had a most interesting life in California under 3 governments: Spain, Mexico, and then the United States. My wife and I have had a wonderful life together and have raised 7 beautiful daughters and 5 strong sons. My family, and especially all of my children, give me great joy. My wife, Maria Victoria, has been praised for her taking orphans into our home. She oversees many public events in the plaza from the tower of our adobe. She has personal charm and gracious hospitality. My full name is Jose Antonio Ruben Joaquin Ignacio Vicente Estudillo. Thank you.
Very good. You guys can unmute yourselves.
By the way, I do have a few items that Jose and his contemporaries would have been using in that time period. And first of all, why don't we start off, we talked about horses. Do we have any horseback riders in the audience? Okay, I can't hear or see, but anyway, this is called a quirt. It's just like a short whip. Oh, Loretta's a horseback rider. She used to ride bareback all the time in Murrieta. Anyway, the quirt it's like a short whip, but it wasn't meant to hurt the horse. Anybody who's ridden horses, they do tend to have their own personality, and sometimes they want to be obstinate. Working with horses reminds me of working with dogs. they get something in their head, and they need a reminder of who's the boss. So the little flick, it reminds them, it says, hey, I'm in charge. Now the Vaquero of the California, they had a distinctive spur that was separate, that was different from any other part of the United States or even South America. They had what they call the California spur, or the rowel, the really large rowel. I want to point out too that these are not sharp. They're not meant to hurt the horse. Again, like the quirt, it's to remind them, hey, I'm in charge. I want you to do what I want you to do, not what you want to do. Now, during that battle I was telling you about, they would have used a pistol like this. This is a flintlock. And the way you load this is you put the powder in, then you put a ball in, and then with this ramrod, you push that ball down on the powder. And then you put another powder in the pan, a really fine powder in the pan. And then you fire this pistol. And this is not loaded, by the way. And we'll see if we can get it to spark. Look right here. No, I didn't spark. But anyway, that would spark. It would ignite that powder in the pan, which would ignite the powder in the pistol and push the ball out. And the Californio, well, the vaqueros, they would wear help me here. What do they call the sombrero? But a Californio hat is more like this. It's got the flat top, broad rim, and generally this shape. Okay, do I have any questions?